גולשי כיכר השבת שלום, יש לנו את הזכות לשבת היום ולדבר, לא פנים מול פנים, אבל עם כבוד אחד הרבנים החשובים בארצות הברית, מראשי ישיבת תורה ודת בניו יורק, ומחשובי הרבנים והפוסקים בברוקלין, כבוד הרב רייזמן, שלום וברוכה. Rabbi Reisman, it's great to have you here. I've seen that you've taken initiative with Rabbi Elia Brudny and other Rabbanim to have a special Simcha initiative as a response or as a lesson learned from COVID-19. Could you please tell us more what it is, what problem is it coming to solve, and what are we trying to accomplish?
Well, nobody can say that this came about for a specific reason, and certainly we're not saying that. However, when something happens, a person has to use it to improve himself, to find ways of tikkunim. When an individual has a challenging time, he has to find a way to be misakein, to make things better going forward. And when it's a tzibur that has a difficult time, and certainly the tzibur in New York was particularly devastated by what happened. We lost a lot of our great Talmidei Chachamim, and a disproportionate amount of our people became ill. There needs to be a response. In the initial period, there were many ideas, and if nobody comes together around one idea, nothing remains. It's been felt for a very long time by Gedalim over decades that the lifestyle here in New York has in general escalated to a point of great financial difficulty, a lot of wasted money, a lot of shalom bayis issues, and a lot of tsar, a lot of pain over the lifestyle here in New York. And while most things people do, they do on their own, and it's even hard to monitor or point to a specific item. When it comes to weddings, weddings are communal events. People come together, and the weddings create a lot of heartache, a lot of pain. I know people who take mortgages on their homes just to be able to marry off a child. And it creates a lot of difficulty. And for no good reason. We can have simchas that are appropriately done for far less money. And this was driven home by the many weddings that took place over these 2 months with just 10 or 12 participants. I myself had a Talmud. I was Masada Kedushin. There were 11 men in the yard. And when we got there, we realized that I was the only one that was a kosher aid. You need 2 witnesses. The other 10 were all kravim. So we had to get the homeowner who gave us his yard to come out and be a second aid. And these weddings ended up with young men who young men and women who are living happily ever after. The weddings that are a show are just the extravagance. It takes away from the kedusha of the moment. Could
I ask the Rav, what exactly are the takanis? What's the initiative?
No takanis. It's very important. We're not making any takanis. These are kabbalas. I can't make a takana. We're asking those who agree with us to make a kabbalah. It's a kabbalah for this select group. We have a group of people who are coming together and agreeing that when we make weddings, b'li neder, we will do so under these guidelines. I'll describe the guidelines. But it's not a takana. I can't make takanas. It's a Kabbalah of many, many people who are coming together. We have, I believe, about 1,400 families that signed on, and hopefully many others who will be happy to join. The particulars of this takana, or Kabbalah rather, the particulars are just 2. The varts should be simple. You in Eretz Yisrael would not believe what has started to happen here. A young couple has a l'chaim the night they get engaged, with a party planner very often. And then they have a vart. The vart, it's really adequate to say that the vart is something which many people spend an amount of money that could be spent for a whole wedding. So number one, to have simple one vart, one l'chaim vart. And number two, to have the wedding Suda just with family. A family Suda with some friends of the Chassan, some friends of the Kala. We put a number at 250 guests. Some people called me, said, who needs 250 guests? And some people said, what? Only 250 guests? I guess we got the number about right.
250 people is Rishus HaYachid, these days.
Only in New York.
Okay. If I could ask a few questions about it. First of all, does the Rav believe that this is going to succeed?
Nobody knows if it'll succeed. It will certainly succeed in that people who are considering making simpler simchas and are ashamed to do so will now have the cover to be able to do it. Till now, they couldn't say, I can't afford it. Now they can say, well, I'm part of this initiative, and that's why I'm doing it. So at the very least, it'll provide the cover for those who need to do it.
The takanas of Rabbi Gamliel mipnei tikkun ha'olam shehotzos hameis hayakosha likrovav yoser memisasan. So hitkin shu yotzim bebigdei pishtan. The reason it worked was because the leadership, like Rabbi Gamliel and the wealthier upper echelon of the Jewish community, accepted the takana on themselves. Once the upper echelon of the socioeconomic level started using bigdei pishtan for the burial, everyone else felt comfortable. I'm sorry I'm being maksha, but if we're not going to get the manhigei hakol to take a chrayas in this, how is it going to be effective on the general klal?
Number one, when it comes to death, people are very frum. When dead people are involved, it's a moment of kedusha, neshama, bitachin. Hashem wanted it. It's bashert. Death is all bashert by people. It's all holy. Weddings in these circles have nothing to do with God, very little to do with kedusha. They're basically celebrations, and it's very, very hard to bring the Rabbeinu Shalom into it. I will tell you proudly that there are some wealthy people who did sign on to the initiative. The first person who sent me a card in his invitation, the card says, please understand that this Suda is family only, and you're welcome to join us afterwards for the Simcha, is a family, two families that can well afford to make a typical or better than typical wedding.
If I could ask the Rav, I read through the articles that were in the American media about the initiative. One of the comments I saw in the article was as following. It says that in the frum world, there's not much kosher entertainment. We don't have Broadway shows, we don't have operas, we don't go to movies. The kosher entertainment you have is weddings. Essentially, what a wedding is, it's not just a simcha. Essentially, this is where bachrim and young men and women are able to meet people and talk to people and have a dibuk chaverim and the vibrant social life that makes frum life so desirable to many is very big part to how we celebrate. Perhaps, yes, it is difficult. Aren't there pluses to having beautiful big weddings for people that encourages the simcha, and is basically the way yeshiva baruchim are able to have a proper kosher entertainment? What does the Rav say about that?
There are always counterpoints that can be made. We are saying that there should be a simchas chasam v'kala, and it doesn't matter for how many hours afterwards. The expense in providing meals for everybody is what we're looking to cut out. In the particular case of the wedding, where they did send out this card.
Basically, yes to music, no to food. Yes to music, no to food.
Well, you can have,
Chamisha kailas.
Boys will be very happy with cake and ice cream for the most part. But, he made the Simchas Chasam V'Kala at 8:30. It's only family. You can have the Suda at 5:30. The Chuppah at 5:30, the Suda at 6 or 6:30. And the Simcha at 8:30. That's his plan. Hashem should help that it should open up. We should be able to do it. But there are counterpoints, there's no question.
And the question is this the way, I mean, I'm guilty of it. We're all part of a consumerism, a materialistic world. When the Chafetz Chaim wrote his book, Nitche Yisrael, in his concern for Jews who are emigrating to America, he wrote about Shukas HaKesef, the desire for financial and material success. That was his primary concern. That people think, he actually wrote that people think that they could earn money below Yigia Klal without any effort. Yigia, actually, I think these days it's not easy here either. But the question is, how do we fight consumerism? Is it through a symptom like a wedding, or we have to fight it on a deeper root, on a more essential level? How are we able to, because the Rav is talking about lifestyles, the Rav is talking about decisions that many people make. Is a wedding just a symptom that is easier to control? But how do we fight it at the roots of the problem?
I'm not about to start a war and fight things. I want to create a mood where simpler is finer, where understated is a value. It used to be a value in Yiddishkeit. With tznius is not limited to clothing, but is also part of the lifestyle of a person, of a family. I want to put Kedusha back. There's no sense, when you're busy with the decorations, the sense of Kedusha gets lost. I had a grandson.
He snarl the fun of Betalis Naz, Zakeli Van Veyu.
L'simcha. My grandson was born, the bris was the first day of Pesach in Lakewood. My son, the father of the baby, was the sandik. The moil was there, and that was it. There was nobody else there. Eliyahu Navi was certainly there.
It sounds like the brisim in Moscow when I was a child.
Okay. But what happened is that my son said afterwards, it was beautiful, I was only thinking about the mitzvah. I wasn't thinking about the guests, I wasn't thinking about the caterer. I was only thinking about the mitzvah. I wish weddings would be that way. I wish the main point of a wedding would be the kedusha, the tahara of a young couple, and not the everything all around. I just wish it would be that way. I'm looking to create a mood. I'm not looking to fight a war or a battle. If someone has a nice fancy wedding, let him have it. But those of us who are ready, willing, and courageous enough to step forward and say, Ad Kan, things have gotten out of hand. Those of us who have that courage, Be'ezus Hashem, we should have siyata d'shmaya, and it should go well.
Amen. I have one last question. For those who ask, when such a big tzara, Eitz Tzar Yaakov, when such a big megefa comes our way, we have to, is this the number one problem? Is this the one thing? This is what it's about? Because again, it's about self-reflection. And the Rav is one of the leaders of the Haredi world here in America. How are we supposed to self-reflect? Is this supposed to be? Is it minimized in any way? Just how to do a simcha, or perhaps how are we supposed to look at it?
Every person has to find a way to take something from this event. And that's that way in life. You have to take something. When we were children and our parents would travel to a different city, they would come back and bring a little souvenir, a little trinket that said the name of the city, or one of those snow globes where it was filled with water. It had a little Statue of Liberty or a little arch of St. Louis. And you would turn it upside down and turn it back, and the little plastic white dots would look like snow. And we considered it interesting. Today's children probably would not. But we had souvenirs from trips on which we went. In life, every person who goes through an event that's major has to have some souvenir from the time. Something that stays with him. It doesn't have to be the biggest item. Something that stays.
Rabbi Reisman, thank you so much for talking to us, Yishar Koach, and we appreciate your time.
Ashreichem, all of you in Eretz Yisrael, I'm eager to be there. As my wife said, if they cancel the summer camps and they let us in, and we're always in Eretz Yisrael for part of the second month, but we'll hopefully get there earlier. and maybe they'll make a special exemption for Rabbanim to come. Bezos Hashem, and allow us to quarantine in the Beis Medrash in Eretz Yisrael, and Yitz Hashem.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Kol Tov.
You're very welcome. Kol Tov.